AITA for wearing a dress that wants to get me kicked out of a wedding. Picture this. You've traveled a long way to attend a close friend's wedding. You're wearing a bright, beautiful yellow dress, like Belle from Beauty and the Beast yellow. It's a cheerful color, and the last thing on your mind is that it could be a problem. The whole day goes smoothly. The ceremony's stunning, dinner is lovely, and you even get compliments on your dress. The bride herself is thrilled and tells you multiple times how much she loves it. Everything feels perfect. But then, as the night goes on, the venue dims the lights, turning on black lights to set the party mood. And suddenly, the dress you thought was a harmless yellow now appears white. People start staring, and out of nowhere, someone from the wedding party approaches, telling you to leave. They claim that your dress is now inappropriate for a wedding because it looks white under these special lights. Imagine how confusing that would be. So, you're standing there just wanting to celebrate your friend, and suddenly, you're faced with a choice. Do you stay and try to explain that the dress is actually yellow, or do you respect their wishes, leave quietly, and avoid the whole ordeal? What would you do? Would you stand your ground, or would you walk out to avoid causing a scene? This is the dilemma I found myself in that night, and it only got more complicated as things unfolded. Alright, let's set the scene here. This wasn't just any wedding, it was the wedding of one of my closest friends. We'd known each other for years, shared countless memories, and when she invited me, I was beyond excited. I wanted to be there, not just as a guest, but as someone who's genuinely thrilled to see her starting this new chapter of her life. Now, when it came to picking out my dress, I didn't just grab any old thing out of my closet. I put real thought into it. I knew I wanted something cheerful, vibrant, and obviously appropriate for a wedding. I landed on this bright yellow dress, and when I say yellow, I mean yellow. Think Beauty and the Beast, that gorgeous bold Belle yellow, but maybe even brighter. It was bumblebee yellow, sunshine yellow. No way could anyone mistake this for anything remotely close to white. And, I have to admit, I was proud of my choice. It felt festive, it felt happy, and it seemed perfect for celebrating my friend's big day. From the moment I arrived at the wedding, I could tell people noticed the dress, but in the best way. I received so many compliments. Other guests, friends, even people I'd just met that day told me how much they loved it. And then the bride herself came over, gushing about how great it looked. Hearing her say she loved it was all the validation I needed. I felt totally confident that I'd made the right choice, and that I wasn't taking any attention away from her. It was her day after all, and I wanted nothing more than to support her. But as I enjoyed the evening, mingling and laughing with friends, I had no idea things were about to take a strange turn. I was on cloud 9, feeling welcomed and happy to be there. And with so many people, including the bride, loving the dress, I couldn't imagine there'd be any issue with it. Little did I know, a single lighting change would soon cast a whole new light on the situation, literally. And the compliments I'd been receiving would quickly turn into stares. So, let me paint the picture of this venue. It was absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous chandeliers, soft lighting, an elegant setup that made the whole place feel like a fairy tale. After the ceremony and dinner, the reception started, and everyone was ready to dance and celebrate. As the night went on, the lights dimmed even further. It was time to get the party started, and in the spirit of a good party, the venue turned on these black lights. Now, I've been to a few events with black lights before, but I honestly didn't think anything of it. I was still laughing, chatting with friends, and enjoying myself. But suddenly, I noticed some people looking at me differently. Like, really looking at me. And then, as I glanced down at my dress, I started to understand why. My beautiful bright yellow dress, Belle yellow, the one I'd chosen so carefully to avoid anything resembling white, was now looking a whole lot lighter. Under these black lights, it wasn't bright yellow anymore. It had this weird, washed-out glow that almost looked white. I couldn't believe it. It was like a complete twist of fate. Here I was, trying my best to avoid even the hint of white, and now my dress was betraying me under the black lights. Just as I'm processing this unexpected turn, a member of the wedding party approaches me. She's not exactly friendly. In fact, she looked pretty upset. Without any small talk, she tells me, "You need to leave. Your dress is white and inappropriate." I felt my stomach drop. I tried to explain, saying, "It's actually yellow. It only looks white under the black light," but she didn't care. She seemed determined, as if my dress was somehow ruining the entire event. I stayed calm and repeated, "This is a yellow dress. It's just the lighting. I chose this dress specifically to avoid any issues, and it's only looking different because of the black light." She wasn't having it, though. Her face was set. and she looked at me like I was completely out of line. Then she said something that caught me off guard. She told me if I didn't leave voluntarily, she'd make me leave. Can you imagine? I had flown in from another country for this wedding, put my heart into being there for my friend, and now I was being treated like a troublemaker. The whole situation was so absurd. I felt like I was in a strange dream, all over the effect of some lights. And yet, here I was, suddenly finding myself in the middle of an argument over the color of my dress, something I had taken such care to get right. All I wanted was to celebrate my friend, not to be caught up in drama. But clearly, things were taking a very different turn. As this wedding party member stood there, demanding that I leave, I felt a mix of emotions that was hard to even put into words. Embarrassment? Definitely. But also confusion, frustration, and a bit of anger. Here I was, just trying to celebrate my friend's wedding in my carefully chosen yellow dress, and now it felt like I was on trial for a crime I didn't commit. I looked at her, took a breath, and calmly explained, "Listen, I completely understand the concern, but my dress is actually bright yellow. It's only looking white because of the black lights. I mean, earlier in the night, you saw it too. It was yellow, right?" But she wasn't budging. Her expression didn't soften. In fact, she seemed even more determined to make me leave. She crossed her arms and repeated, "It doesn't matter. Right now, it looks white, and it's inappropriate. You either leave on your own, or I'll make sure you're escorted out." That stung. I tried again, thinking maybe I could reason with her if I stayed calm and respectful. I didn't come all this way just to cause trouble. I'm here to support the bride, who's my friend, and I flew across the world to be here. I honestly didn't realize the lights would change how my dress looked. It's just the lighting, not my intention. But nothing I said seemed to make a difference. It was like she'd already made up her mind and wasn't interested in any explanation I had to offer. I could feel other guests glancing our way, probably sensing the tension, and it only added to the embarrassment I was already feeling. I felt my cheeks getting hot, but I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I chose this dress because it was yellow, and I knew my intentions were pure. Standing there, I felt a strange kind of resolve. I wasn't going to let someone push me out over something as silly as the way the blacklight affected my dress. I wasn't causing any actual harm. I wasn't taking attention from the bride or creating a scene, at least not until this confrontation was forced on me. So I stood my ground. I told her, "I'm here to celebrate my friend. I'm not leaving over a misunderstanding caused by lighting. My dress is yellow, and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. It's just not fair to ask me to leave for something that's completely out of my control." As I spoke, I felt a mix of embarrassment and defensiveness. But I also felt like I had to stand up for myself. Why should I leave just because of an optical illusion? The whole situation felt ridiculous. And yet, there I was, holding my ground, hoping she'd understand. But no matter what I said, she just stood there, arms crossed, with no sign of understanding in her eyes. As I stood there, holding my ground against the wedding party member who was insistent that I leave, she suddenly turned away and stormed over to the groom. I watched as she pointed directly at me, clearly frustrated, her face full of anger. My heart was racing, and I felt all kinds of emotions swirling. Embarrassment, frustration, even a little disbelief that this was happening. I wondered, what will he think? Will he actually ask me to leave because of this misunderstanding with the blacklights? I watched the groom's face as she went on, trying to read his expression, bracing myself for whatever reaction might come. But to my surprise, he didn't look angry or even concerned. He just gave a little shrug and turned back to the dance floor, continuing to enjoy himself like it was nothing. He didn't come over to confront me or even wave me off. He just went right back to dancing. In that moment, I couldn't help but feel a little relieved, but also completely confused. Was he on my side? Did he understand that this was just a strange lighting effect and nothing intentional on my part? Or was he simply too wrapped up in his own celebration to worry about something so trivial? Maybe he didn't want the added drama, or perhaps he knew it wasn't worth disrupting the night over. Whatever his reason, he just let it go. I couldn't help but wonder what he truly thought of the situation. Did he see my point, realizing that the black lights were the real culprit here? Or was he simply indifferent to the whole thing, not wanting to get involved in the fuss? I stood there, watching him continue to enjoy the party, and part of me felt grateful that he hadn't sided with the wedding party member. But at the same time, I was left wondering about his true feelings. And so there I was, still in the middle of this strange situation, watching the groom act like nothing was wrong. It felt surreal, almost like I was caught in some kind of awkward dream. I knew he could see me, I knew he'd heard her complaints, and yet he just shrugged it off and went back to dancing. In a weird way, his indifference gave me the smallest sense of reassurance, like maybe I wasn't entirely in the wrong here. But the question still lingered. What was going on in his mind? Did he quietly agree with me, or was he simply letting things slide to avoid causing a scene on his big day? The next morning, I woke up with a heavy feeling in my chest. I had stayed up late, replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out if I had handled it all wrong. I knew I hadn't meant any harm, but it didn't stop the discomfort that lingered. At breakfast, a friend of mine, someone who wasn't part of the wedding party, came up to me. She looked a little uncomfortable, like she didn't know how to bring it up, but then she just said it. "I heard what happened last night," she began. "And honestly, you should have just left when they asked. You made it about you, and that's not respecting wedding etiquette." I wasn't sure how to respond. Part of me felt like she was trying to be helpful, but another part of me was just hurt. Here I was, standing by my choice to stay because I didn't think I was in the wrong, and now someone was telling me I had made the situation worse. She went on to say that people were uncomfortable with me still being there, that it took attention away from the bride and groom. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to make a scene. I was just there to celebrate my friend's big day, and I really didn't think I was in the wrong. But hearing it from her, the way she said it, it made me second-guess everything. Maybe I had made a bigger deal out of the situation than it needed to be. Maybe I should have just left like they asked, avoided the drama, and not tried to explain myself. I felt embarrassed, but there was also a part of me that was defensive. I had tried to stay calm. I had explained my side. Why wasn't that enough? I thought about how everything had played out the night before, how I had stood my ground and stayed, not out of defiance, but because I truly didn't think there was any issue. But now, with my friend telling me I had made a scene, I started to feel guilty. I wondered, was I wrong to stay? Did I make the whole thing about myself by not leaving when I could have? Or was it right to stand up for myself when I genuinely believed I wasn't in the wrong? The whole situation left me feeling conflicted. On the one hand, I didn't think I was disrespecting the wedding at all. I'd worn a dress that I thought was perfectly appropriate. But on the other hand, maybe the best course of action would have been to avoid the confrontation altogether. I'm still not sure what the right answer is. So what do you think? Was I wrong for staying? Or should I have just respected the request and left, even though I felt like I didn't do anything wrong?